I'm urged to sit down as well, now that I'm here. My name is Heini Lehtinen, and I have a design and research studio called Raven and Wood Agency, which is specialized in spatial health, more particularly in spatial design and research, and especially how spaces and built environments impact our health and well-being, specifically psychological and emotional well-being. And kind of the title that I'm talking about today is spatial peace, but for this introduction I decided to take a more conceptual take on peace, because peace is just so huge and we don't really, it's really difficult to grasp. So I have kind of broken down peace into smaller, let's say, pieces or categories, and after the presentation, in the discussions that we will have today, please challenge me, please tell me what can be done with this. This approach, is it useful? And I have also collected a collection, a selection of references, of examples that are from very different perspectives of design and very different sectors of design. And the examples that I have are, first societal perspective and then commercial, but they are very different from each other. Some time ago, I went to a job interview, and in the interview we were talking about some spiritual practices, and especially we were talking about inner peace. And the CEO, at some point, the CEO asked me, "But you know what's behind all this?" And I was like, "I think I have an idea, but you tell me." And he leaned forward and said, "Love." I was like, "Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good point." But usually, if I talk about these things in a work setting or in a design setting, I prefer to break love down to hope or trust or respect or care, because love is just huge. Love is similar to beauty, which is also one of my topics. It's similar to truth, and it's similar to peace. If we think of designing for love, designing for beauty, designing for truth, they are all so big that this is what happens when we start to think about them. We don't really know what to do with them because they are just so huge. They are universals, they are absolutes. So instead of love, beauty, truth, and peace, there are more of these as well. We should think of breaking this down. What is the experience of this? What is the relationship between us and these umbrella concepts? In a conversation before, someone said, or someone proposed, that when we have the words design and peace, and then Alvar Aalto and Aino Aalto, are we talking about relationships? Is this a relationships meeting? And I would dare to say that we are actually talking about experiences and relationships. And I would say that designing for, in a very simplified way, I would say that designing for peace is as simple as getting along with another person, and it's as difficult as getting along with another person. And as I said before, I prefer breaking peace down into hope, trust, respect, and care. And all these are also elements of human relationships, not necessarily romantic relationships, but any relationships that we have. And in the next slides, I have a couple of examples of all this. How can we design, or what is hope, or is actually hope what we are looking for, or is it something else? The title of my introduction was Designing Hope, and hope in the end, hope is a big word as well, and it's a very necessary state of being, or a very necessary thing to have. And this is my first example of how to design or how to bring hope. Clowns, for instance, in refugee camps or in hospitals. As the text or the quote says, without this type of activity, the children just suffocate. Today I saw the children forget that they were in a refugee camp, even some of the adults too. It has been a long time since I have laughed like this. But if we think of clowns in a refugee camp, they are not really solving the problem, but they are distracting people from the problem. They are creating hope. They are creating a memory, or they are triggering a memory of a better tomorrow, what can be. And from a very different perspective, this is also, designing or creating hope, but from a very different context. If you buy the product, this is what you will get. And especially in these ads, you can see that you really will not get this with the products, because you can very clearly see how photoshopped it is. It's not even real. So in a sense, or in many ways, hope is a projection, is a positive projection for tomorrow. It's a distraction, but it's not really doing anything for the actual problem, for the root cause. And then if we continue to trust to the foundations from where hope can also be built, trust is more like keeping the promise. If hope is giving the promise, trust is keeping the promise. Again, a couple of examples. Thank you, Matilda, for sharing this first. This example is from Finland. It's a project by U Foundation. It's a project called Nimi Ovessa. And in this project, homeless people who have problems with substance abuse or crimes, or for different reasons, they are given a home first, and then they have time to solve their problems, instead of conditioning to people to solve their problems first, and after this, they are given the apartments. This is exactly the opposite. So people are given trust. You will get, with trust, that if you get the home, you are also able to solve your problems. Or it's a foundation for solving the problems. Again, a very different example, design example, fiscal scissors. And the text is from Donald Norman's Emotional Design. Usage is a critical test of a product. Here is where it stands alone, unsupported by advertising or merchandising material. All that matters is how well the product performs, how comfortable the person using it feels with the operation. A frustrated user is not a happy one. And again, a spatial example that proved to function in real life. Amos Rex Art Museum, which opened last year. And the blobs have really been appropriated by the citizens, by young people, by children, by skaters, by everyone, just using them as a new urban space. This is, for those who are not familiar with Amos Rex, this is right in the center of Helsinki. And then respect. I would say that respect, designing for respect, is giving the best you can for the user, or we can use the word user, or for those who are using your design. This is an example that I really actually, I love this this example. It's a pediatric healthcare center in Port Sudan by Tam Associati. And I was talking to Raul Pantaleo from Tam Associati some years ago, and he said, beautiness is not just taking care of people. It's a very practical issue. It's listening to people and just giving them a place, a beautiful place. Beauty is not the goal, but the goal is the respect towards people. In my view, beauty comes from respect. And from his perspective, you should design the best for those the most in need. And this is a beautiful, beautiful example of that. Another example of respect and making products and design that stands time and is high quality but still inexpensive is, for instance, Aino Aalto glasses from the 1930s. And then care. You cannot really care without love being behind your thinking. This is a healthcare center by Nord Architects. This is from Norway. And as Nord Architects say, the center will accumulate the various healthcare programs and with its green courtyards, create a green walking path between the towns and the facing hills. With the existing buildings on the site, the center will constitute a unique architectural interaction and an innovative concept for contemporary institution buildings. And if you think of this image as a healthcare center, it also looks like a village where we probably would also like to live. And this is kind of another direction, or the main direction that I have, how to create everyday environments that function as healthcare facilities for the mind and for the body. And a different example of taking care. These images are from Tikau, which is a Finnish design label, interior products label. They take care of people and environment from production to the end user. It's socially sustainable, and they also think of the end user, and they are especially going towards purity and cleanliness of the products, so that you can, you can have a baby on on the carpet, for instance, and it's safe. No plastic. It's pure wool. And in the end, this is a Finnish saying, niin metsä vastaa, kun sinne huudetaan. Translation could be something like, so response is the forest as you shout. So, if we deliver or aim in delivering trust, respect, and care, that's what we are more likely to also get back. And these are, I would say, this could be a foundation also to design for peace. But I'm curious to hear your responses and your opinions about this. And this is how I would say it in my words: touch is a dialogue. There is always a response. Thank you.